All right, today we're going to talk about the progressive movement. What is it and why is it going to begin? So a little context of time. We've talked about the Industrial Revolution starting in England around the 1760s and really taking hold in America at the beginning of the 1800s. It's going to end anywhere between 1840 and 1870. The dates are broader for this ending date because historians disagree about when it's going to end. Industrial Revolution is more about the technological advancements that we're going to see that are going to allow the giant factories we see later on. Those giant factories where you have different people creating monopolies, making a lot of wealth in our country is called the Gilded Age. Gilded Age went from 1870s to around the 1900s. It's this time period where big business is on the rise. You're having more creations of factories, the fast-paced work. You're going to have a lot of people getting really wealthy and a lot of people staying very, very poor. That dissonance, that conflict that's going to happen in the Gilded Age is going to lead to this third era we're talking about today, the Progressive Era. The Progressive Era is going to start around the 1890s and is going to go until around the 1920s. The Progressive Era, in a nutshell, is going to be people calling for change. So the movement, the progressive movement or progressivism, is in response to all the challenges, all the negativity we've been seeing as America industrializes, as it becomes more urban, as it's more and more people are driving to the city. People want something to happen in response to the poverty, the crime, and the growing inequality. More voices are going to call for the government, state or federal, to address the problems that they're seeing, saying the government needs to help regulate, to help protect the working class. Some people are going to jump into the progressive movement and call for reform for religious reasons, feeling drawn as a religious duty to help others. Other people just want social justice. Whatever their reason, all of these people are fighting and calling for change as a way to help make life better for everyone in the United States, regardless of your social class. Why is it going to start? The call for reform is going to start because of authors, journalists, novelists. Journalists and novelists are going to start to focus their writing more on the poverty, working conditions, and the growing challenges they're seeing of urbanization. These authors and novelists are going to be given the nickname of muckraker. A muckrake, is over on the right. It is a tool that is used to help clean up manure and hay out of a stable. This name is going to be given to the journalists because they're working to uncover and expose misconduct in politics and in business. So essentially, people are saying these authors are digging around in the dirt, focusing on the most negative aspect of society. Regardless of why they're doing it or how they're doing it, they're going to bring to light a side of America a lot of people in the middle and upper classes had no idea existed. They're going to bring to light the corruption and poverty that is growing more and more. We've seen some examples of muckrakers in class when we looked at the meatpacking plant in the book, The Jungle. Also, we've gotten it with some of the images from Jacob Riis when he is talking about the poor in America, showing images of the negatives of the housing conditions, things like that. So the problems that progressives are going to address are widespread. There's not one area that they're all going to focus on. Rather, different groups will try to tackle different things they feel need the most focus. So we're going to see a lot of call for political reform. There's going to be call for suffrage, allowing specifically focusing on women's suffrage, giving them the right to vote. There's going to be this push to fight against a corrupt government and have an honest government, having people there who are to serve the people, not their own self-interest. And when we talk about an honest government, reformers want to fight against the local corruption they're seeing with political machines. A political machine is a group that's going to be led by what we call a boss, a political boss. A political boss is going to use their henchmen, their group, essentially kind of like a gang. They're going to use bribery and violence to influence voters and win elections for politicians. So if you wanted to get elected in the Gilded Age, you would hire a political boss. So this is a political cartoon of a political boss. He's going to send out his hired guns, and they're going on election day. They're going to manipulate, threat, bribe, and essentially force people to vote for the politician the political boss has chosen. Essentially, they are winning local elections for politicians through force, not because it's who is the best candidate. You're going to see progressives who want to address the challenges of urbanization, trying to fix the problems that we have with the growing population. So basic things like infrastructure, calling for support in paving the streets, getting safe drinking water to the tenements, improving the tenements and creating decent housing, and addressing the services of the city, also known as municipal services. So a municipal service is like trash collection, education, police, the things our tax dollars go to on a local city level. The problem with the municipal services is they were often controlled by dishonest business owners. So these business owners will take bribes from individuals and move those tax dollars, that public funding, away from the services such as police or trash collection, and direct it towards the individual who's bribing them. You see this more with larger businesses, like the big businesses getting preferences for their side of town. And so it's the side of towns where the poor and working class are going to be that get neglected. So you're going to see an increase in crime, increase in trash, disease, a lot of those growing problems of urbanization because money is getting directed away from them. Other progressives are going to call for change against the big businesses themselves, so like Andrew Carnegie. They are going to call for an end to monopolies. There are progressives who want to allow more competition on the market, allow those smaller and middle-sized businesses to survive by ending those large trusts and those large monopolies and giving them a chance to work hard and succeed at business. The final category we kind of see the progressives trying to address is the wealth gap. You see people trying to either close the gap itself, so help increase pay for the lower classes, find ways to kind of distribute the wealth a little bit better, not socialism, but preventing the corruption of CEOs from taking all the wealth and not paying the lower classes a livable wage. You're going to see other people trying to close that gap based off of conditions, not necessarily the actual wealth gap between the poor and the wealthy, but more what their quality of life is going to be like between the wealth gap. So you see people who are going to focus more on the conditions the country's poor are living in and working in. So trying to fight for better regulation in work and housing, and also fighting for the poorest children to end child labor, get them into schools, and find ways to give them a chance of having a better future than what their parents had before. There is a lot with the progressives and the progressive movement. We're going to spend some time looking at all of the specifics about what the progressives are going to do and how they are going to fight for reform. But we will talk more about that in class and next time. Have a great day, guys.